Hi, I'm Justin Jensen, and welcome to my channel. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust, sweat, and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and may fall again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming. Teddy Roosevelt. Hello. Okay, y'all can hear me now. Perfect. How's everyone doing? Hope you're well. Thank you so much for joining me. Obviously, I'm not in my studio. You can hear me now, though, right? Let me know if you can hear me. I don't want to keep talking. Hello, good morning. Thank you all for joining. If you guys don't mind, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. I would really appreciate it. Got a lot to talk about today, and we are going to be talking about Idaho 4, of course, along with Anna Walsh, her husband. Lots of stuff has came out on him, a lot. And it appears she married a freaking psychopath. How do some of these beautiful women get some of these crazy guys? Thank you, Amanda. Appreciate it. Thank you. My nose is itching. Oh, thank you, Cammie. I hope you're feeling better, honey. Hope you're feeling better. A lot of people's been sick the last week or two. It's been terrible. I know, last weekend or this past weekend, I felt like I was on death's door, All right, so let's start in Idaho. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about. So this sealed, yes, I said it, sealed, warrant that they have. What does that mean? Could it mean, let me read it to you first off, and you're going to be like, There's a lot of questions to this because people's lives could be in danger. Thank you all. Filed December 30th, 2022, right? And the court findings in this motion. The matter is in the investigative stage, and while criminal charges have been brought, those charges are not yet publicly known. Why have they not told us about them? What are they? Premature listen carefully, premature public disclosure of the details of this law enforcement investigation will create a serious or imminent threat to effective law enforcement and could result in a premature end of the investigation, which could create a threat to public safety. That's a lot. That's a lot. Angela, welcome to the fam. Mwah. Thank you, dear. Thank you. Oh, sorry you have a cough, honey. I hope you feel better, Teresa. Welcome. Hello. Thank you all. Thank you all for joining. 1 second. 1 second. Sorry. Had to take care of something. Apologize for that. So what does this mean? Why haven't they let us know what these charges are? These are charges that they are talking about what came out of this freak's apartment. So what came out of there? Is it findings of that he has done this to someone else before? Is it findings that he has a computer full of like a hit list? Blonde Fox, this is the warrant. It's not this. They're not letting us know the charges that is still to come. And this is what is coming out of when they did his apartment. Does he have information on people? Has he done this before? Does he have private information of people, that he somehow got, people's passwords or whatever to where he could even, look into people's lives allegedly? Who knows? No, there's not a second suspect. Not a second suspect. That if there was a second suspect, he would have been arrested. He or she would have been arrested. Pictures? Yes. Thank you so much, Evan. Now, is this part of some dark? Could be. Could be. But what is it so crucial that could put law enforcement in danger? And obviously it would hurt the case. They're saying if this would come out and put, could potentially put us in danger as the public. So now going back to that, has Brian done this before? I once in the beginning, I thought, yes, this man has probably done it before. Yesterday, I would have probably said, nope, I don't think he's done it before. He's very sloppy. Now, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't know. It is crazy and scary. It's very crazy and scary. Now, let me tell you something else. I'm going to show you something. I had to make the color of the video and stuff look a little different because that's the way it rolls on YouTube. But I'm going to show you a mother who has eerie, her son was murdered, eerie similarities, very relatively close to where Brian, Kaylee, same vicinity. Now, this happened a year and a half ago, but they both happened, her son was killed with a knife. They both happened at night. They both happened on the 13th day of the month. And guess what? There was survivors left in the house unharmed. Thank you. And they also each had a dog in the apartment. I still don't really... Kaz, that's a good question. Could the DoorDash be BK to throw detectives off? Could there be a kind of confession found in his flat, like photographs of girls, etc.? Thank you for your hard work. It's possible. It's possible. Maybe they haven't, maybe this, he'll be known as, the DoorDash or whatever, murder or whatever. But we don't know. That's all speculation. That's all speculation. I know the DoorDash man was interviewed, but I want to know if was he a driver for DoorDash? And you can take, I don't really know a lot about it, to be honest with you, but you can take to see if you want that one, want that to do that delivery or not, and could Brian have been a driver, but he never really took, orders or anything, and he if it pinged, oh well, they must be home, I can head over to 1122. So let's look at this. Let's go look at this video that I'm going to show you. Lot of similarities between the two. Now, I do want to say that some of these videos, they look a little funny. Some words might be backwards or whatever, but I want to, because I have to do it because of YouTube, so that's why. If the screen doesn't look too clear or whatever. Here we go.
Idaho. The case of another deadly stabbing during another overnight home invasion. That case has gone cold because it's 15 months now. It happened 15 months since, before the Moscow murders. It happened in Salem, Oregon. That's Travis Juden on the left and his wife Jamie Lynn on the right. They were attacked by a knife-wielding intruder in the middle of the night while they slept. Travis died at the scene. Jamie Lynn was gravely wounded, but miraculously she survived the attack. Early in the investigation in the Moscow students case, the cyber sleuths began to notice there were a whole lot of similarities with the Salem case. For instance, both of them happened in the middle of the night. Both of them happened on the 13th of the month. Both attackers used a knife. In both cases, there were survivors left unharmed in the home, and eerily, a pet dog was spared in both Idaho and in Oregon. The survivor who was left behind in the Juden's attack was a friend who was staying over to pet sit because Travis and Jamie Lynn were just about to head out on vacation the next day to Hawaii. And before the arrest of Brian Koberger in the Idaho killings, the authorities had said they were ruling out a connection with the Oregon case. But since Koberger's arrest and his alleged match with crime scene DNA, it's not entirely clear whether police have revisited any other unsolved cases in Salem or anywhere else for that matter. I'm joined now by Myra Juden. She is Travis Juden's mom. And Myra, may I just say, I'm so sorry for your loss, and that we're speaking, under these circumstances, especially since it's been well over a year and they haven't found your son's killer. When you heard about what happened in Idaho, did you instinctively think there might be a connection? Do you now think there might be a connection still?
Well, there's a lot of similarities. I have no proof there's a connection, but I'm hopeful that hopefully that this will reinvigorate this case and bring attention to my son's murder. And hopefully we will get some answers soon. It will be 1 year and 6 months this coming Friday on the 13th.
So 18 months, that is, no parent should have to go through any of what you've gone through. And certainly this wait has been excruciating, I can only imagine. When you heard after 7 weeks that they were able to find a suspect in Idaho, did that at least reinvigorate your hope that you still could find your son's killer?
Yes, it did. I was very happy and very relieved for those parents that law enforcement was put all their emphasis on trying to find that killer. And I'm hopeful that same emphasis can be put on my son's killer, because as you said, it's going to be a year and a half this Friday, and I'm hoping that we can find his killer as well.
I'm assuming that you have fairly regular contact with the detectives on the case just to get an update, and I wonder if once Brian Koberger's name became public, and it's only been a week and a half, did they revisit this with you to say that they want to maybe get access to the DNA and see if there might be a possibility that these are connected?
No, I have not heard from them. My attorney is in contact with them, but I have not heard from the detectives in this case.
So you put out a $50,000 reward. How did that juice the tips that came in? Because as we know, tips can be everything, right? It can be, and I'm putting information up on the screen for anybody who's watching right now, because tips are so important. The detective who's working on this case has an email and a phone number for anybody who's watching and wants to send tips in on this case. But how did the tips come in after the reward, and how have the tips been since the reward expired?
So all the tips go to Marion County. They go into the tip line or to the detective, and we have had no update from Marion County what kind of tips have come in.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television.
Okay, sorry about that. Like with all the thingy-majiggers. Why is it backwards? Because I have to cut it because of YouTube. Otherwise, I'm not monetized, so they won't monetize the video. So you have to kind of like edit it a little bit. So, with that being said, there's more. So, a lot of similarities between the two. Now, last night, yeah, I don't get struck. Yeah. Last night, revelations came out that Kaylee actually was at the university where Brian was working. For like, there's a restaurant. It's a restaurant where all the college kids go in Washington, very close to the university, and Kaylee has her name written on there for her 21st birthday. Until July. Yes. That is true, Heaven. Now Brian didn't move till like May, June, July-ish, somewhere around there of this year. But did he come here in Washington for inspiration? Because as we know, more serial killers comes from Washington, Oregon, these places, than just about, per capita than anywhere else in the United States. Did he want to see the things that other serial killers see? Is that why he went to school here? Is that did he want to breathe the same air as past serial killers? Did he want to see what, the past serial killers saw? I was thinking because he didn't want the public or Brian himself seeing he was being looked at. Okay. So, it makes you wonder. Did he ever visit? Tomorrow, Brian goes to court. Yes. Tomorrow is Thursday. Here, hey, Justin, wasn't he in PA at that time? He was allegedly in PA at that time, but did he ever visit here? Or there in Washington? Who knows? And just because he said he was, let's just say he was going on vacation and he was driving and he says, well, I'm going to Ohio, but he goes to Louisiana instead, to throw people, even his family members and things off. So we've got to continue a video of that, and she's going to discuss more on this. Okay, here we go.
And, there was another case as well within the last few years of a bizarre overnight stabbing. A woman named Sandra Ladd also stabbed in her home in the middle of the night. They haven't found that killer either. Do you think that this case might reinvigorate both of your cases? That there might be some thought that there's a serial killer?
Well, what I hope it does is that I hope it reinvigorates both cases, because no parent, no family should go what my family has gone through for the last, year and a half with no answers. And I'm hoping that, my son will get that same kind of attention that the Idaho murders have gotten, and help to kind of solve this case. And the same thing with the other case. I hope that family gets answers as well.
Well, in an effort to help that along, let's also put up the email for the detective in this case. I actually communicated with her today, and she said it would be great to have her email. It's right on the bottom there, jvanhorn@co.marion.or.us for anyone who might have tips in this. You have now, Myra, gone through 2 birthdays of your son without your son, 2 Christmases without your son, and I'm sure you sought advice from anyone who could give you advice in the unimaginable new reality. But it doesn't get easier.
No, it doesn't get easier. It gets harder. And my son was this amazing young man. And it's very hard not to have any answers. And I just wish somebody could come forward just to give that extra piece to the puzzle that we need. My son was smart, kind, gentle, patient, just an amazing young man. He would have given you the shirt off your back. And I don't understand why someone would have done this to him. And I can't even start grieving until I have an answer. So it's very difficult for my family. We have a lot of family in Oregon. As you probably know, I have 9 brothers and sisters, and Travis has lots of aunts and uncles and cousins in Oregon. And we're all grieving, and we want answers. He was an amazing, amazing young man.
Was the pet sitter in the house who was spared from this horrendous crime able to give any details at all? Because in the Idaho case, the eyewitness actually saw a perpetrator in the house.
I don't know. I mean, that's something that Marion County would have to tell you. I don't have that information.
Now, what she says here is kind of interesting to me. Yes, he was stabbed to death. Yes, and there were survivors left in the home as well. Now, she asked the mother, did the other person see the person in the home? And she says, I don't know. You would have to ask the police. I don't know if she just doesn't want to say and let the police talk about it, or the police haven't told the mother, or what. but she asked her another similar question, and she's getting ready to say it, so listen closely.
It's, that was something that would have to come from Marion County.
And did Jamie Lynn have any memories of the attack that nearly killed her as well?
You would have to ask Jamie Lynn.
Do you have any advice for the families of the Idaho victims? Because they're starting on a journey that you have now been in for a year and a half.
Well, it's kind of hard because they at least know who their killer is. And so, they can start now the grieving process. For me and my husband and my other son and the rest of our family, we can't grieve yet because we don't know who the killer is and why they did this to our beautiful young son. We just don't understand that. And so I'm super relieved for those families in Idaho. I'm happy that they are getting the answers they need to get, because no family should have to ever bury their son, ever, or daughter.
Myra, is there something you'd like us all to know about Travis? Something special, a great memory about your son?
My son was he was just a great kid. I just can't tell you. I mean, I shouldn't call him a kid because he was a young man, but he was just so sweet and kind, and he would have given you the shirt off his back. And he just, you've seen the pictures. He had this smile in his eyes that just lit up the room. And we all call him our shining light, because there's a star up there for him, and he is shining down from heaven. So he's just a great kid.
You can call him a kid as long as you want, because I have two boys and they will never be men to me. They will always be a kid. I'm going to just mention that address again for the detective on this case. It's J. Van Horn. It does not have an E on it. J. Van Horn at co.marion.or.us. If anyone's watching and they might have some information about this horrendous crime, and maybe can send in a tip.
So it's interesting. I mean, what are the coincidences? They were both stabbed with the knife. It was both at night, but both on the 13th. Is that just a coincidence? Survivors left unharmed, and a dog. So very interesting. Very interesting. Now, we also have to remember Brian was in Pennsylvania most of his life. And is there, well, obviously, I'm sure there's some unsolved crimes in that area. And I'm sure authorities are checking his DNA against a lot of unsolved crimes right now. How bad was the wife injured? I don't know. I don't know. They were both stabbed. She did survive. He did not. And this Friday, which will be Friday the 13th, yes, let's hit the thumbs up, guys, if you don't mind. It really makes a person wonder if he really has done this before or not. When it says premature public disclosure of details of the law enforcement investigation will create a serious and imminent threat to effective law enforcement and could result in premature end of the investigation, which could create a threat to public safety. A threat to public safety. Now, button your seatbelts, fasten your seatbelts, because now we're going to talk about what Brian said. He was a man of few words when he got arrested, but he allegedly said something that makes me cringe. And I'm going to show you. People magazine put out an article Idaho murder suspect spoke about slain students during extradition. Quote, "It's really sad to see what happened to them." Can you believe that? He's acting, I mean, technically in the court of law, he is innocent until proven guilty. But it still makes me nauseous to think that he did this, you know. Let's get into it. Brian Koberger has largely remained silent after he was charged with the killings of the four University of Idaho students. But he made small talk with other officers. See, that's what we all kind of wanted to know. You know, what was, you know, did he say anything on his forever trip to get to back to Idaho? You know, sometimes it's so small talk that really tells a lot, right? So he says, but he made some small talk with the officers while he was being extradited back from his home in Pennsylvania and then booked into the Latah County jail. He seemed really nervous, a police source who was involved in the process told People. Quote, "He was narrating to himself everything that was happening. Creeper vibes. Creeper vibes." So he's narrating himself. That brings me back to what he was saying allegedly when he was younger. That he felt like he was in a movie all the time. And that he had what they call visual snow. We're gonna talk about that in just a little bit. Where he had visual snow, but he was narrating this. I mean, I don't know about you. Yeah, he's like he's disassociating himself with this, but he says he feels, like he was living in a movie. Now, to disassociate with yourself, it happens to nearly everybody at some point in their life, sometimes often in people's lives, if particularly stressful times or whatever. But narrating himself, that's a whole different story. Whole different story. He was narrating to himself everything that was happening. At one point, he was saying something to himself like, quote, "I'm fine, this is okay," end quote. Like he was reassuring himself that this whole thing wasn't awful. This makes me A, creeped out, but B, you can, if he is doing this out loud verbally, he's obviously got problems. Obviously. He's trying to, and we've heard that he's been very quiet, but, a lot of people have said he seemed nervous. I do not think for a minute that he thought he was going to get caught. He had this sick compulsion to do this. And he thought he was smarter than authorities because of what he studied. you're in criminal justice. That doesn't make you a master in forensics. You might know a lot about forensics because you're in criminal justice, but nonetheless, you're not studying forensics. And I think he always looks tense, serious. If he has multiple personalities, that's damn scary. I mean, it's, we don't know. But what I can tell you is not officers, but there's going to be, studies about him for years and years to come. And it's going to be interesting what we find out about this cat. What got him ticking, what makes him, make him think the way he thinks. Here, I just heard about visual snow just yesterday. I've heard of tunnel vision. Yes, we're going to talk about visual snow and all that here in a little bit. We're going to kind of do a little study class together and learn about it together, really. He's the same personality as the Craigslist killer. Yeah, that's interesting. All right, let's continue. Pardon me. Like he was reassuring himself that the whole thing wasn't awful. Kohlberger was read his Miranda rights during his arrest and cannot be questioned about the case without an attorney present. I just thought of something. Could he, obviously you can't get the insanity, you can't plead insanity in Idaho. We know that. But you can be deemed incompetent to stand trial. Now, does that mean you get out of jail? No. You don't. You still got to pay for your crime that you are, if you are charged with a crime. But it does mean that you can go into some sort of mental health living facility, like a hospital or something like that. Is this, is he really talking to himself to really calm himself down? Or is he doing this just to potentially be deemed incompetent? Psychopaths have a real hard time being upset about anything. They simply aren't wired like we are. I suspect Ma and Paul Kohlberger knew their son had a couple screws loose for their head for a long time. I couldn't agree more. And they are wired differently. And, it goes to that thing. If you are born with a brain disease, like a legit brain disease, if your brain doesn't function like a normal person's, and you go commit murders, obviously it's egregious, it's horrible what you have done, but does it make, do you have a little bit more compassion for someone that, they're biologically just born like that? Now, this is the thing that I think. I mean, the problem is, to me, he knew that this was wrong. Why? Because he hid things from police, right? He didn't turn himself in. No, people like him cannot be rehabilitated. They can't be rehabilitated, and neither can sex offenders either. yes, you go to the mental hospital until you're competent to stand trial. And some people are never deemed competent again. Most are overall at some point. A few are not, though. So, Kohlberger was read. So he was read his Miranda rights. Obviously, police can't talk to him about, questioning him or anything because he has to have an attorney present. He didn't speak directly to officers about this case, but the police source says that he did make an offhand comment about it. Quote, he did say, quote, it's really sad what happened to them, but he didn't have anything more, end quote. The source says, quote, he's smarter than that. So, Brian's saying, this is really awful what happened to the Idaho 4. But I don't have anything to do with it because he's smarter than that, is what he is saying. So he's saying he's smarter than that. It's bad. All of it's bad. But trust me, he thinks he's smarter than this. I agree. But it is knowing right from wrong, but competency is different when it comes to it's part of it when it comes to crime, but the other part is knowing what you are being charged for and being able to assist in the trial, your attorneys and everything. So you have to be able to do all of those to be deemed competent in a trial. All right. Kohlberger was read his Miranda rights during his arrest and cannot be questioned about the case without an attorney pro. Sorry. Kohlberger, 28, was arrested on December 30th in connection with the November murders of Ethan Chapin, 20, Xana Kernodle, 20, Madison Mogan, 21, Kaylee Gonclaves, 21. All 4 victims were stabbed with a fixed-bladed knife. And let's see here. It is unclear whether or how Kohlberger knew the victims. Now, Kaylee's parents' attorney, she is now saying that there is no connection between Kohlberger and any of the 4. Now, again, last night on News Nation, they said Kaylee was at this bar very close. Kaylee went there on her 21st birthday. She's got her signature on the wall. It's one of those restaurants where you write your name or a message on the wall, or, some of them you leave a dollar bill or have you. But, could they have ever met there? Or did one of Kohlberger's friends follow, these girls on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter? The girls, they were huge on these platforms. And did that build a fascination? And then last night I was thinking about this. Looking at the layout of the home, right? It's really a perfect place to do a crime. When the authorities was saying, is it because of who was in the home, or was it based on the home? And I didn't fully, like, I got it, but I didn't really go deeper into it. And I was looking last night, there's a road going down a hill right beside. It's multi-layered, this home is. Behind it, there's a place you can park and literally scout, hunt, like these killers do, them out, like Brian did at least 12 times that we know of. And just a location, and the way this house is built is really a perfect location. And then what does he know? He knows there is 4 college girls living in this house. Back door not closed, easy access. It's got sliding doors. Sliding doors are the easiest to break in out of all doors. And yes, 5 women, no guys. And, so I'm kind of thinking, did he, the day, college started back, when Kaylee and them was going, they were, semester had started again. Brian was allegedly around the college. Was he scouting that day? It really makes you wonder, was he scouting that day to find the perfect victim or victims? And he was around in that area, and I can just see him, like, I'm like, are you driving around, just trying to find a house that you can become obsessed with? And did he do it? Did he find them on Instagram or anything, and then figured out where they live, and then he created a plan? Or was there some interaction between Brian and, Xana, Maddie, Kaylee, any of them at all? Or is this totally random? We still don't know. And, going back to that warrant in the house, does this mean that he had more victims on a list? That would be scary. Oh, yes, they certainly do have his computer. They have his computer. They have his office computer, everything. I can guarantee you that. The warrant and findings from his apartment could answer that question, I think. That's what I am hoping for, Vet Girl. Was Dylan passed out behind the door? No. Where did you hear that? Just curious, Dolly. Where was it posted? Rooms available. I have no idea, to be honest with you. That's a good question, though. You know what? This is another idea. That's Mary. That made me think of something. When Brian was looking to move here, right? Was he looking for places, around the campus areas or whatever? Did he call this house and say, hey, do y'all have any rooms available? Oh, no? Okay. What's your name? Uh, small talk. Where you live? So you live on, 1120. It could be something like that even. Yes, they took his computer. There is surely something on it. He wrote a lot of things, and he have not seen any of his school papers or other writings except the weird ones. That is true. It still seems like the girls were upset, concerned when they left the corner club that night. You think they were upset? What was Kaylee worried about? And Maddie told Adam. See, to me, they didn't seem upset at all. I mean, they were laughing, they were giggling. To me, they seemed like, and the driver said they seemed very happy. They took his Vans tennis shoes. Did they order Jack in the Box often? I don't know. I'm sure that they ate out probably every day, right? I don't see college students doing a lot of cooking at home. Did he go ask the girls, can I rent a room? And then they say no. Yet lots of guys always going their big trigger. Potentially. But it just sickens me that Brian said that, oh, it's really bad what happened to them. He's literally a psychopath in my opinion. I have
remarkably similar.
Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about Dylan as well. Another new video, Ashley Banfield, News Nation, did this with someone who kind of went through the exact same thing 30 years ago about something happened in the home and nobody knew in the home what happened. That was still there. So we're going to play this. Just let me know if y'all can hear it when I find it, at least. Blue, da, da, dee, da, da, da. Sorry. Which one was it? Okay. Here we go.
To Dylan, as I look at the parallels, you were also 19 years old. You were also living in a house with 5 sorority sisters. What did you think when you heard about this case? Could you put yourself in Dylan's shoes?
Right away. And the more that evidence came out and the story came out, it just became chillingly eerie how similar it was.
Did the circumstance that I just sort of outlined make sense to you, given that you heard some unusual noise and chalked it up to, it's just the roommates. This is a normal house in a normal town in a normal life. And there's Dylan seeing a guy walk through the house. Maybe it was a DoorDash driver. I mean, yuck, but murder?
A little bit. Also, I was boosted up through a window that the attacker had broken in. So it wasn't that I was home when he attacked and when he broke in. But so there are similarities. I didn't see the attacker. I just know that when I found my housemate the next morning, I didn't see any blood in the room. All I saw was liquid. I was trying to find a pulse and shake her. And when I called 911, just saying that my housemate choked on her vomit and I can't wake her up and she's unconscious. When the paramedics arrived, I was standing behind a paramedic and he announced, holy, look at all of this blood. And in that second that he said blood, the whole entire room filled. So I know that the mind.
That is the power of the mind. She just said she went into the room the next morning and she didn't notice any blood or anything. And she called 911. She told 911 her friend choked on her vomit. And then they got there. They started doing chest compressions. And what happened? The person doing chest compressions said, oh my God, look at all this blood. And she said right there, the room filled with blood. This is what your mind protects you from. it will only let you see and hear things that you can take, to be quite honest with you. And her brain literally protected her from seeing all of that blood before they came. The authorities came. Thank you, Darzilla. I think he might have ordered the DoorDash and not Santa. What are the odds he came in right after the delivery? Potentially. I never thought of that, actually. I never thought of that. That's a potential point. Absolutely. Are you an Australian Aussie girl? Aussie? You've been saying that for weeks. You've got to remember, though, when Dylan saw him, she had no clue her friends were killed. Absolutely agree. Absolutely. She had no idea. She had no idea. There's nothing that will convince me that she knew all of her four friends were slaughtered up, beside her and above her, and she didn't do nothing. No, I'll never believe it. Oh, we need more likes. Come on, let's get them up so we can finish. So we can finish this. Come on, come on, come on. Let's get the likes up. Get the likes up. Get the likes up. How many do we got? Hold on. 1 second. Let's see how many likes we got. How many likes do we got? I'm sorry, I'm singing. I sound like a nasally creature. We have 801 person in here. 343 likes. What the front door? What? Come on. I work hard for the money, so you gotta treat me right. Hit the thumbs up. Tracy, thank you. There's an old interview with Oprah and Richard Speck, one survivor, Carzon Amuro, who hid under bed for hours, and 8 roommates were stabbed. Essay, good watch. Wow. Richard Speck, one survivor. That's amazing. That's crazy. Come on, hit it up. Hit it up. We're at 386. Bundy Data, thank you for your super sticker. Thank you. Appreciate it. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 82. All right, let's continue. Where were we? Wrong one. There we go. Okay, here we go.
It is very tricky things when it is trying to keep you safe and keep you functioning and keep you in fight or flight, because that is the mechanism of the mind. So that is why I really empathize with what Dylan went through. We don't know the story. We don't know her history.
Yeah, explain that a little more for me. What happened that morning when you woke up? I'm just assuming you think it's a normal morning. You're knocking on your roommate's door. Take me from there.
Well, I came in through the window and the screen was out, so that was a little bizarre. And I went to my housemates. The only other housemate that came home that night. There was 4 of us on that floor and 2 didn't come home that night. So I was the only one that came home. I went to her door, which was ajar, and I heard heavy breathing. And so I thought, oh, okay, I called her name. She didn't respond. So I just went to bed. And my room was in the front of the house. It was a converted old Buffalo home, which used to be the patio. So since this attacker came through the window, he assumed that was the exit. I'm in bed, just about to go to sleep. I'm very intoxicated. And someone walks into my room and I lift up my head and no one was there. And 10 seconds later, the front door closed. Now, no one came home. So we know that's when he left. So that fear and that panic to this day stirs me. I didn't sleep really for a year after this experience because every time I saw someone chasing me and the guilt and, oh, what if I had called 911 sooner? So when the reality of what had happened the next day occurred, the pieces just start coming together. Investigators start coming in. You're trying to figure out what happened. So I can really empathize really a lot with Dylan.
If there was something that you could tell Dylan, and for that matter, Bethany Funk as well, because she was also there that next morning. If you could say something to those girls, what would you say?
What I would say is what you resist will persist. And I wish that I had dealt and processed this sooner back then. I've said this on a couple other shows that this was a different age. No one came to my rescue and offered me therapy. And there wasn't social media that blew up our attack, big as this is. So people are having external more concern. So I just moved on with my life, whether that's good or bad. And I became a strong person and I chose to help people and serve. Now, re-experiencing this 30 years later, sure, there's a lot of pain. And I realized, wow, I wish I had processed it sooner because I can connect the dots a little bit to things in my life that have occurred probably because this was unprocessed. And that's how it works. So I encourage them to do the work, heal, take time, write, meditate, process this experience, make sense of it somehow emotionally and mentally so that you can continue being a shining light in this life and honor your friends and help other people because you have a reference point that most people will never have.
Elena, I only have 5 seconds left, but I just want to ask if you're going to make an effort to reach out to them at some point down the road when they're able to speak to help them process, being that you've been through this.
I have sent a message so they have my contact. If they need anything, I'm absolutely here, however I can help.
Well, I'm so thankful that you shared this tonight and so clearly.
So I hope she ends up getting in touch with the roommates, Dylan and the other roommate, and just to know that she's not alone in this. If there was any connection, or it is a crime not to report if she knew about it. And she was very brave and very honest about what she did, she said, and what she saw. And I think she's going to make the state look really good in her argument for hopefully putting this asshat away for many years, forever, really. Danielle's I'm trying to see what she said. What'd she say? And I'll try to answer it, Danielle. Oh, hold on. Okay, just put it in there, Danielle, and I'll try my best to answer it. What if DM had screamed? Well, I think if he would have saw her, definitely she wouldn't have survived. Absolutely. You would definitely have PTSD. She is stage witness for sure, and 2 for her and her courage. Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll brush over this for a moment because I thought it was just interesting. 14 traits of a serial killer. These are some interesting facts about a serial killer. And let's see if, Brian, checks what we perceive him to check any of these boxes. I'm trying to join on my iPhone. Help. Is ICU or any of the mods can drop the iPhone link? Did she see knife? Yeah, in the affidavit, she does not see the knife. She just sees him. And it was very quick. Very, very quick. Yes, we hope Travis's mother Travis gets the justice that he certainly deserves. So, traits of serial killers. 90% of serial killers are men. 9 out of 10, right? And it's because of a hormone, generally, called testosterone. I am lacking it. I'm just kidding. Um, but testosterone is what makes generally, serial killer. It pushes that aggression, that rage. This is true, but the percentage has been shrinking slowly over the last couple of decades as we learn more about female serial killers and learn how to identify them better. So, I guess they males and females do it differently, right? Now, they tend to be intelligent with IQs in the bright or average range. So bright, average as of the year 2000 was an IQ as of 2000 was an IQ of 125 or higher. That's amazing. Average in the US is 110. The average IQ in the US is 110. Mensa requires an IQ of 155 or higher to be considered for an acceptance to the Genius Secret Club. But they have done some serious reconstructing of their IQ test, and we learn more about intelligence and how people learn and understand. Some who scored a 120 as a kid on an old test might score in the 140s or higher with a new revised IQ test. Also, the average for IQ is increasing, and not just because of the restricting of the test, reconstructing rather. This means eventually the majority of people will fall in the bright or average range of 125 to 140 as the average for an IQ increases. So, serial killers generally tend to be on, a little bit above average or even bright. Uh, they do poorly in school, having trouble holding down jobs, and often working as laborers. So it is true of most low functioning psychopaths and sociopaths and psychopaths. It is also true for non-sociopaths and non-psychopaths. This is one of the things that is influenced by your environment as a child. Uh, regarding uh, regarding of whether you are or not a psychopath or sociopath. This is important because while not all sociopaths and psychopaths are serial killers, all serial killers are either sociopath or psychopaths. It's very interesting. It's important because not all sociopaths or not all serial killers are sociopaths or psychopaths, but all serial killers are either sociopaths or psychopaths. Race, economic status, neighborhood, general well being all influence our ability to do well in school, hold down a job, and either or enter the workforce as many do. Uh, there is also lots of people who fall into this that enjoy jobs that are manual labor jobs. They tend to come from unstable families. Tons of people come from dysfunctional families and don't grow up to kill people. And there are plenty of people that come from stable families that do good on on their own. Sorry. Dysfunctional families, and there are, I lost my spot. Plenty of people that come from stable families and do good on killing people. A surprise number of mass murderers come from good families. And while serial killers and mass murderers aren't the same, I consider them two sides of the same coin. Dennis Rader came from a stable family. Bundy didn't. Gacy came from a mostly stable family. Gacy's father was a raging alcoholic, and this put them in the early grave. But he wasn't raping, that he wasn't his daughter and beating his sons half to death along, although he may have been violent. It was in the 1950s, and lots of fathers were violent with their children, and not all of them became serial killers. Ridgway didn't. That also could be something that is different now as well. Mary Lynn, thank you for becoming a member. Pipeg, thank you for becoming a member. Welcome them to the family. Thank you so much. I do appreciate your support. Thank you. It really means a lot. It really does. So, people used to spank their kids a lot more back in the day, and there was a lot of domestic abuse back then as well, right? They're saying that, people who were abused and came from, non-stable homes, it can affect if you become a serial killer, but it doesn't necessarily mean, that you're going to be, some serial killers come from very sturdy, well put together families as well. As children, they are often abandoned by their fathers and raised by domineering mothers. Now, this is something that I will love to see because I've noticed this a lot in serial killers. Their moms are alphas, and it goes beyond being an alpha female. They are extraordinarily controlling. And I was just thinking when I was reading that alpha females, and I was thinking of Brian Laundrie, Roberta Laundrie. She is an alpha female by far. She wears the pants in the family, right? And this makes me wonder about Brian Koberger's mother. Is she an alpha? Like an alpha plus. It goes beyond being alpha. It's, just domineering as everything. His mom loved Bundy. Yeah. She wrote some in that article, which we showed yesterday. Some parents are too embarrassed to get their children help. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And there should never be embarrassment for getting your child help. That should be commended. There should not be shame in it. But years ago, if there was anybody in your family that had anything remotely wrong with the person in the family, they were literally, many of them were put in the back part of the house, and they didn't come out. They were hidden from society. Now we can't even fathom that people would do that. Right? Did his sister know about Brian? Don't know. Like, did his sister know that he was a creep? Is that what you mean? Or yes, they're very interesting. Whist or tortured in the back room. Yes. And you're right. And so many studies and stuff were done on people with any type of disabilities or um, it's very interesting. Sometimes I think this trait is the only one that exists because of Ed Gein. Do you guys remember him? Ed Gein. Is it Ed Gein or Gein? He killed his mother. He's like 6 foot. He's like 6'8" or something like that.
Of Ed Gein.
Ed Gein. Ed Gein. Well, I read that wrong. He's really tall. He killed a lot of people until he killed his mother, and then he turned himself in. So crazy. So crazy. Their families often have histories of I can't talk today. Criminal, psychiatric, or alcoholic problems. For the record, my family checks 2 of these boxes, according to the person writing this. And if I'm being really honest, it probably checks all 3. My grandfather's generation and the generation behind them were not known for being terribly law-abiding. And that's both sides. Now I could probably pick out a cousin or two that it wouldn't surprise me if they were serial killers. At least one is female, just FYI. But so far, none are. So I feel this might be
might be too broad of a statement.
Sorry, I hit that. Might be too broad of a statement to be considered an identifying trait of a serial killer. Also, my parents' generation and your parents' generation grew up in a much different circumstances that I and you probably did. I've already mentioned something along these lines of Gacy. Even in the 1980s, when I grew up, telling your child to go cut a switch wasn't considered abusive. Even if a parent giving the order was even an alcoholic with mental illness, who was I'm just thinking back then. God, it was so different. Even if the parents giving the orders, okay, I already read that. Who was maybe a little less law abiding. So back then, you could tell, your parents, they could be drinking, smoking a cigarette, be not law abiding citizens, and say, go pick a switch so I can do with it. That's crazy. It's so changed. Thank God. Now, this is another interesting one. They hate their fathers and mothers. All teens hate their parents at some point, almost. The person writing this article says, I spent about 5 years hating my father for no reason, and then he was my father. Like the last 2, this is a very broad trait to apply to a very select type of personal history. But psychologists and psychiatrists agree that in the majority of teens go through a very intense period of the teens against hating your parents is usually part of it, or better than the last 2. I may have hated my father for about 5 years as this thing keeps jumping. I'm sorry, guys. I keep reading the same damn thing over and over. It keeps jumping on my end. I don't know if you can see it here. There aren't kids that scream at their parents, quote, I hate you and wish you were dead in the heat of an argument about a punishment. These are the kids that the parents enough to fantasize about murdering them, but it is still a broad term that most people don't understand, like the two before it. There are commonly abused as children. Now, I don't think that is a very, it's kind of a, not surprising to say the least. If they, they're getting beaten and stuff every freaking day, right? Uh, that's kind of abuse. So yeah. Kids who are abused are more likely to become abusers themselves as adults. In a study, pedos in the 1990s, nearly 75% of all pedos had been sex when they were children. Interestingly, boys who are sexually abused by a woman as children are even more likely to grow up and kill women than a female child abused by either sex, or a boy abused by a man with no other understands why. And no one understands why, but they theorize it is something to do with the internalization of traditional gender roles. But boys abused by women feel more betrayed than boys abused by men because women are supposed to be their protectors or something like that. Many serial killers spend time in psychiatric care, especially hospitals, as children. Off the top of my head, I know Bundy and Ramirez were both hospitalized for psychiatric conditions as children. So was the Boston Strangler. And so a lot of these people have been in psychiatric hospitals as a child. They also have high rates of attempted to off themselves. From an early age, they are intensely interested in fetishes, sadomasochism. This isn't surprising. Sexually abused children are often hypersexually at a young age, but all children, even at the tender ages of 3 and 4, have some. What? I don't know about that. When you equate pain with shame with sex, you're more likely to be interested in the general public considers deviant sexual practices. Furthermore, considering this list, while compiled only using, quote, lust killers, end quote, as a basis, skews the results more to a more sexual overtone. So when they, switch pain with, they equate pain with sex. Not my cup of tea. 12 through 14 are the serial killer trifecta that I hate with all my being. Okay, bedwetting. Most people know that one. Bedwetting beyond the age of 12. Obviously, fire starting. Abusing, killing animals as a kid. It says, why are you so strongly against these three? Because they've been disproven. Yes, some serial killers do it all, but not even half. They're saying that this article is saying not even half do the bedwetting, the fire starting, and the animal abuse. We've all learned that about 30% of all three. We've all discovered that about 90% of all children, teens go through different phases. About victims often have nightmares and night terrors. Abused victims often have nightmares and night terrors that result in bedwetting beyond the age of 12. Peer bullying can also lead to bedwetting. This reminds me a lot of Brian. I wonder if he had like these really bad night terrors and he peed the bed after 12 because he was, peer bullying. And is this why he's so angry at the females? Could be. Very well could be. Idaho don't care if you're nuts. They don't have an insanity plea. Yeah, they don't have an insanity plea. I heard Kaylee's father let it slip that BK acute accessed the Wi-Fi. Yes. I don't know if he accessed it or it, pinged off of it. He is a night terror story, just my opinion. Come on, 36 more to go till we get to 500. Woo, 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 woo. Come on, get it up, get it up, get it up. However, okay, so we know that one. Now, where was that? Most kids who are all basically sociopaths and psychopaths from birth until adulthood occasionally get mad at a pet and kick it, hit it, bite it, or do something else that it's cruel. I would say if your 14-year-old is bedwetting without a physical or emotional problem that's causing it, and you catch them disemboweling your neighbor's dog while a fire burns in a pit beside them, you should definitely be concerned. But if your kid is being bullied and it causes them to wet the bed, and on a bad day they get kicked, they get the kick to they kick the neighbor's dog, and then you catch them burning a book, there probably still hope for them that there aren't going to be a serial killer. So, yeah. So I guess it just depends on how you build the fire and how you, kick the dog, I guess. I don't know. People kick the dog. It's sad. Don't hurt animals or humans or anything living at all. Ever. It's not good. I want to show you guys this. Let me show you this real quick. You might like it. Well, not like it, but be interested. Okay. So, I think Sleuthy posted this. Sleuthy Goosey. Now, this, I wonder if Brian was wearing something like this. This is like a Carhartt, something to that effect. Yeah, Buddy the dog. Now, yeah, Sleuthy posted this. Originally from MPA _ by Fresha. Put this on this with a watermark that says it's Photoshop so people don't act stupid, because I feel like she'd have to have had to been really close to have noticed these eyebrows. Now with the COVID mask, I can see noticing that for sure. I think it's more of a COVID mask. Would this work? And then look what they did. This is photoshopped. This reminds me of Hannibal Lecter, to be quite honest with you. Great job, guys. Thank you. Yeah. It doesn't say what kind of mask in the affidavit, actually, but I'm pretty sure it was like a COVID mask. And that's exactly what I just said. His entire eye looks bushy. My eye's bushy. Hold on. COVID masks have helped criminals. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, now you can go. I mean, honestly, if you, before COVID, if you went in the bank with a mask on, you were going to be, they were going to be like, I'm dialing 91010 right now, honey. I'm dialing it. You think he kept his knife? Some people do. Bushy eye. Those gator style masks are like a scarf almost. Yes. Yes. If she saw his nose, she would have recognized him by his nose, right? But he's got those eyebrows, so his nose and mouth had to be covered up. Wasn't it? So Barbie Ken murdered that were married. I don't know. Hey Megan, good to see you. I think there was something I wanted to debunk as well. So where was it? She also shared the audio clip that was a way example of how much more noise an outdoor camera. We talked about that. The audio in the camera from the neighbors on 11/22 is fake. Everyone knows that now, right? Just want to make sure. I've been asked to remove my mask for ID, but I thought it was because I'm black. Oh no. I can understand not calling that 11, but why would you call your roommates and ask them, do they have somebody inside the house with the mask on? It's cold. It was cold and it's winter time, and a lot of people wear masks. B, it was the night of the game too, and C, they're just college kids. I really think she thought it was like the driver. The driver was probably like, she's like, oh, my food's here or something like that, and she ran downstairs, and maybe she thought the driver was bringing the food in, or she forgot something and was bringing the food in real quick, was in a hurry, right? You just never know. Do they will report the car findings? I meant not calling 911. Was there any connection to Brian to the Debbie case? Debbie case. No. Not that we're, no. I mean, if the person with the mask scared, you wouldn't you call your roommates and ask them if who was at the house with the mask on? Probably. I mean, it depends on who you are, but there were so many people, so many strangers in that house, you know, that it's like everything but the bedroom is a common area almost, right? I don't think Xana ordered that food at all. Who thinks? I mean, I think she probably did. I mean, maybe not. We'll have to see. Yeah. So 20 years old, doesn't have her phone. She would be charging it. She knew the masked man was strange. Why freeze in fear? I mean, why does any? I mean, this is the thing. Even if she thought he was strange, strange doesn't equal murder. Can you check for my email when you have time? Thanks. Yes, I can, Danielle. I certainly can. It doesn't equal murder. I don't think anybody sorry, I was just looking at something. I don't think anybody can even fathom someone, your roommate's dying. I just don't think so. Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to jump off. I will be back here in just a little bit. We need to cover Anna and all that. So I will be back. It's 1:00. I'll be back at around 3:30. I wanted to do it all in one live, but I have an issue I got to go take care of here at work. So I love you. Mwah. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Please hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. I really will. I do appreciate you all. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in a little bit. Okay, about 3:30, 4:00 Eastern. That is. Bye bye.